All right, let's get started. Good evening, East Tennessee. We have some severe storms. You've been looking at the pictures. Keep an eye on what's going on as far as the weather because my audio is feeding back to me. But I want to show you the ultimate Doppler radar presented by Marco's Pizza. We have some severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect around Scott County. That's one aspect. Also into parts of Campbell County as this has continued to grow. That's what we're watching right now. And so what we're going to be watching most importantly is the time here. It runs until 7:45. So if you've got plans and you're in the Oneida, Wartburg, or even, dare I say, Jamestown, you're in the heart of this storm right now. Some nasty storms potentially producing some hail. We'll look at that as well. But the track of this is heading to the north and east. And at Crossville, while you are technically under a severe thunderstorm watch in Cumberland County, it's the northern part of Cumberland County that's technically under the warning. That's what we see here. I know it's a little harder to see, but I'll go ahead and take it full screen. So again, Crossville proper is under a watch until 10 o'clock Central, but northern Cumberland County is under the warning. That's until 6:30 Central for this severe storm that's affecting a lot of Fentress County. Fentress County's been getting hammered right now. And if you're on the call, let me know. I'm on both Facebook and YouTube. I would love to know if you're in this area, if you're in Oneida. Are the skies getting dark? I would imagine they are. They've got some flash flooding just north of Monticello in Wayne County. They've been getting hit hard around Corbin and around Monticello, parts of southeast Kentucky. We talked about the possibility of rain and storms there today, and it's only begun to magnify or amplify itself here in the last few minutes, last half hour or so. We're going to continue to watch this. If you've got some comments, let me know. I see Steven Snyder. He's being very thoughtful, sharing me some stars. You're very kind, sir. Thank you for that. But as we look at the YouTube, if you're on YouTube, let me know. I'll do my best to magnify your voice. But what you're looking at right now is the main game in town, meaning we've got some storms that are quite active and quite vigorous moving through parts of the plateau. So it really covers parts of La Follette. I want to dive in a little bit deeper here. We're going to zoom in, take a look at some towns that might be affected here in the next few minutes. That would be Roberta, Foster Crossroads. But what's really key is the BTI score at the bottom here is on the low end, 2.7 on a scale of 0 to 10. So if this BTI, which stands for Barron Tornado Index, BTI, it's a good little reference point. It's not always absolute, but it has a very high skill score of about 97 to 98%, last I heard, and they have had some very good success with it. When it's a 7, 8, or 9, which they don't issue often, but if it's a 7, 8, or 9, there's a good chance there's a tornado actually moving on the ground. But this is probably very little risk for tornado, but certainly some damaging wind may be coming about as this continues to work its way across the area. Let me go back and just revisit. It's Morgan County till 7:45. It's Scott County till 7:45. And a portion, he says, a portion of Campbell County under the severe thunderstorm warning till 7:45. So that's the key. And I'm going to open up the Captain Accurate weather app. It is free. You can download it yourself, but I can read to you the copy that I can see on my phone very easily. But what the wording of this is very clear. They mentioned that Morgan, northwestern Anderson, western Campbell, and Scott County are under the warning till 7:45. The last update they issued was 6:50 p.m. Eastern Time, and they said this severe thunderstorm was located along a line extending 6 miles west of Birdstown to 6 miles east of Livingston to 6 miles southeast of Baxter. And this storm is moving east at 50 miles per hour. So if that's the case, if this is moving at 50 miles per hour, let's just do a track. Let's do our own track here in Tennessee and just assume it's moving in this direction at 50. So we've got some new towns on the screen for your convenience, including Roberta, Three Forks, 722. Mountain View at 7:23, and a West Oneida should be around your neck of the woods by 7:23. That's in about 2 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time. If you're in Elgin, you're in Sunbright, time to get away from windows. Your dog or cat, or dogs and cats, might be a little bit alarmed with all the thunder and lightning. We can put that on the screen. Yeah. Wow, look at all that lightning. How many struck? We got 3,225 just on this image alone in the last few minutes. So the lightning, yes, that's active. You got an electrical storm coming in. I did mention the winds are going to be pretty nasty too. So let's take a look at that for a second and see if we can get some good estimates here. But I'm going to go ahead and now we got these towns on the screen. Let's go ahead and clear the map for just a moment, just so we can see a little bit less clear. But there's some winds, might be around 53. Looks like we've got some winds around 54. So we've got strong winds coming into town. If they're 60, they're going to have a severe thunderstorm warning. So very important that you take care of yourself. If you're on YouTube, I'm looking over here, nothing so far. Back to Facebook we go as I change my tabs. Come back on camera and say hello to you if you're on the call. Cray Slavin says he had a shelf cloud, in Cookeville earlier. I believe it. It almost looks like, for those old enough to remember, many of us remember the movie Jaws, but around that same time there was Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Spielberg classic. That's what those shelf clouds look like. They look like something right out of space. And maybe out of science fiction. Kenneth says, and Carolyn Humphrey says, we're in La Follette, Campbell County. Thank you, Kenneth. Let me know what you're seeing. Are you getting winds around 53 miles an hour? They're pretty localized, but they are drifting in the direction of La Follette. So here's La Follette, right? If we use this logic and analogy here, we got the red pencil here. I think we've got red here. Let's go back to red. There we go. So here's La Follette, but here's the winds over here. And they've changed. They've gone from 50-some, and now they're 39, 42. So they are changing. That may be something we'll be watching closely. Got the notes here from Craig. Definitely had winds just ahead of the storm. And very thankful for being the best weatherman ever. Thank you, Kenneth and Carolyn Humphrey. You're all very sweet. I appreciate your support. Again, this is just a precursor. Maybe that's not the right word. A preamble for what's going to come tomorrow. Because Knoxville proper and Oak Ridge and Maryville and Morristown, all the big towns in East Tennessee will need to be on guard for tomorrow, as we could have some isolated severe storms tomorrow. Isolated in the heart of the valley, but right now it's a plateau issue. For some of you who aren't living in the plateau, you're like, I'm going to go back to the grill. Oh, this is boring. Maybe, but if it's where you live, it's very important. And I want you to know until 7:45, a couple more minutes from now, this will be expiring. Question is, will it continue on? Will the National Weather Service extend this particular warning to new towns? Isn't that the fun and beauty of weather? Because it's always changing. But we do have a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:45 for La Follette, Kerrville. I would assume Jacksboro as well. Is Jacksboro included there? Oh, and Duff. We got McLeod Mountain right on the edge. You see Duff over here? I would have to pencil it in here. There's Duff. Duff's a great place if you've ever been to McLeod Mountain. Lots of fun to see the vistas and the views. But I'm looking at Oneida over here. Oneida, you're about to get hammered with some wind and rain and all the rest. And I dare say you're probably going to be getting here in Scott County quite a bit of lightning. Let's see if that, boom, boom, right? We got quite a bit of that. 2,200, almost 2,300 lightning strikes here on the Ultimate Doppler Radar. So please be mindful. The question is now, are we going to get some hail out of this particular system? I can do a little quick check on the hail. Yes. Oh my, look at that. I'd say that would be possible. I'd say there's a lot more than possibility. There's probably been some quite interesting hail in this swath. And maybe that's what we're seeing at this particular time. Some hail here, hail and reflectivity. We can do all sorts of things, fun things, to give us some idea of what's going on. Yeah, the thread here would suggest that this is probably the size of a 1 inch. Oh, it's just moved on me. I don't know if you saw that. Just moved on me. But over here, if we go back to the eyedropper here, we can see that it's about 1 inch. 1 inch hail is the size of a George Washington quarter. So if you're playing the home game version, that's coming out on the doorstep of Oneida. Now, if you have a new car and you live in Oneida, I got to tell you, maybe you want to get that in the garage or carport like ASAP. ASAP, he says, because again, this is as live could be, but I'm sure the hail's probably already in the city of Oneida by the time you hear my voice here. It doesn't take long to get there, and I can show you this. I can show you this as far as the hail concerns and understanding that size. Let's just give this perspective. Once it hits 1 inch hail, then it's considered quote-unquote severe. But if it's a nickel, it's a penny, Weather Service might put out a special weather statement, but they're not going to be as alert to it as if it's 1 inch. That's the threshold. They have to have some criteria. Give them that, and that's where they typically guard the definition. So the definition of a severe thunderstorm would be 60-mile-an-hour winds, possibly, 1 inch hail, possibly, but if it's larger than 1.5 inches, or then you're looking at ping pong ball, golf ball, tennis ball. Thankfully, we're not that big, or even estimated that big. But again, what we're seeing illustrated here would be maybe 1 inch hail just around Black Oak, just west of Oneida so far. And again, this is just history. This is where it's been. Let's get back to the radar and where it's going, because we're more important than some of the towns that hadn't been hammered yet are about to up in Scott County, and that's what we're focused on this evening. Just again, recap, here's Knoxville. Let's put the home view in here, just give everybody a bird's eye view. Why are you cutting in? Because we've got multiple counties. We've got Cumberland, that's number 1. Fentress, that's number 2. Morgan County, it's number 3. And we got a sliver of Anderson. That's, so we've got almost a half a dozen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, half a dozen severe thunderstorm warnings. And it all expire generally at 7:45. That's little more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes from now. So we're watching that closely. Daniel says, very calm up here on the mountain. I'm from Duff. Well, I would imagine, Daniel, in a few minutes that might change. So if you like to set your iPhone or your Android on a time lapse, boy, that'd be some good video, wouldn't it? Put that on a 30-second or 1-minute time lapse and watch the storm roll into Duff, as this is likely headed in your direction. If you need some evidence, let's go 30 minutes. Let's see where this storm's been in 30 minutes. Do you think this is headed to Duff? That's about all our thinking caps on. Let's be all the amateur professional meteorologists. You bet I think it's headed in the direction of. I know it's on the doorstep of Oneida. And that's just the last 30 minutes. Let's go back an hour, or maybe 45 minutes. There it goes. So you can see in the last 45 minutes, it may be weakening. Some of the purple and the reflectivity colors are changing, but it is drifting in the direction of La Follette, Kerrville, and eventually Duff. Because as I indicated, the severe thunderstorm warning does include Duff. I didn't draw that little polygon, but there's Duff right on the edge, right? Maybe, oh, I stand corrected. It's just on the other side of the fence on Highway 25. So if you're in Russell Fork, you're not in. But if you're in Kilsyth, I guess you are. Or Fincastle, you're right on the edge. You might be looking through the looking glass as the storms come in. But there's a likelihood it will continue on its way to Speedwell and so on, because this thing's not likely to fall off altogether. A couple of other comments. Kenneth and Caroline Humphrey, another note says Erie, calm before the storm, right here at this minute. About 45 minutes ago, the wind was blowing, he and she say. Then it went completely calmed. Just before the storm always happens in La Follette, Campbell County. Kind of interesting how everyone has their perspective, because some storms do. They can, not always, but they can weaken as they fall into the valley, because you need rising motion with these storms. And sometimes if you've been on a walk and you hit like a pothole, you know, the air isn't rising, you're falling. And so some of these storms do get disrupted as they head eastward. Not always, but they can. Melissa Mumpower, will this be moving through Morristown? Probably not. I suspect this will fall apart, but it's something to watch. And that's why I encourage you to download the Captain Accurate Weather app. It's free. You can do the 2-hour radar, which we're going to do here momentarily. You can do it, zoom into your town, because let's face it, nobody cares about weather in Montana today or weather in some place outside of the country. But if it's your town, now we're talking. That's how we consume weather. It's a very selfish thing in some ways, but it's also self-protection. It's a self-protection mechanism. I think we all have it. There's no question. Daniel says, love watching the storms roll in. And Fincastle is on the other side of the mountain, LOL. Yeah, definitely, I think there's some aspect. There is an aspect to this very situation that weather is consumed on a very I want to know, need to know basis. Because if it affects me, well, then it's important. But if think about the people in Knoxville. They like, oh, is that Jamestown? That's just Jamestown. I know how it works. I understand it. I've been around it for over almost 25 years. It's just something Mother Nature. It's human nature to just be more interested in the weather where I am, could care less if it's not happening to me. Anyway, did you know there have been 29 tornadoes today? You said, well, it wasn't in my house, so it didn't matter. But there were 29 tornadoes so far in the country, most of them in the Midwest. So it is one of those situations where weather can be fascinating if you love weather. If you're a weather nerd like me, that's one of those things that you just like, you ooh and ah over. But yes, there have been truly 29 tornadoes so far and counting. Most of them have been in Iowa and a few there in Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, and central Missouri. So if you have family there, that's a bigger issue when you have tornadoes. But we have damaging wind and a new, looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that's coming from Sparta and now affecting Cumberland County, Crossville. Now, Crossville, when we started this live stream, was just under the classic severe thunderstorm watch. But no, not any longer. Lake Tansy and Crossville and Fairfield Glade are now under the warning. So welcome to the party, pal. As Bruce Willis used to say at Die Hard, yes, we've got some storms coming your way from Sparta, moving east toward Fairfield Glade. Let's check and try and find out how the National Weather Service in Nashville, and yes, I did say Nashville, how are they interpreting this particular storm? Because again, Crossville and Cumberland County, Jamestown and Fentress County are in fact governed by a different National Weather Service office. The one from Nashville said there's one for southeastern Overton, Cumberland County, White County, southern Putnam County, for example, till 7:15 Central. That is, in fact, 8:15. The located storm was near Sparta, moving east at 55. So let's play the home game version. Let's draw this out, 55, right? What time is it going to get over here? Is it headed in this direction? 55 means this one's moving a little faster, right? There's 55. Boom, got some new towns. So this will be moving the direction of Walnut Grove at, let's see, Walnut Grove now. Sparta Hills at 6:33. That's Central Time. There's nothing wrong with the clock. It takes into account the time difference. Cherry Creek, 6:34 Central Time. Town and Country Estates, 6:34. And you might have a severe thunderstorm in Yankeetown, Tennessee, at 6:35. Maddox Farm, that's specific. It's a farm. It's someone's farm named Maddox Farm at 6:35. That's on the list of towns that are going to be affected by potentially a severe thunderstorm that the National Weather Service Nashville just now issued here. So that's one newly issued particular warning. I'm looking at your comments. If you have something you want to share, let me know. Melissa Mumpower says, Lord have mercy. That's a lot of twisters. Yeah, 29 in the Midwest is very, very interesting. Now, I can do more than the twisters. I can do the little, what we call the local storm reports. Ready? They're going to pop in and boom! And it's more than just hail markers or wind damage, but it's basically everything in the last 24 hours. So there's a lot of information that is populating here on this screen. But if you zoom in a little bit tighter, you can see all the red markers, and they're all the red markers suggest possible tornadoes. They're unfiltered information, meaning they haven't gone out and surveyed them yet. They'll do that tomorrow. Most likely, or if they have a lot on their plate, they might get to it the next day. But there's a couple there near Wausau, Wisconsin, in northern or central sections of Wisconsin. There have been quite a few. And one down here, a little tornado red marker in Missouri, just north of Clinton, Missouri, well west of Jefferson City. So for context, we don't have it that bad. Now, we do have some issues in southeast Kentucky. I don't want to leave out our friends in Wayne County. A shout out to our friends in Wayne County, Monticello. You're looking at a flash flood warning until 9:45. Question is, does that include the city? And the answer is probably not, because here's the city right here. But if you're even a half mile north of the city, in places like Swifton, Parnell, or Frisbee, if I said that right, those areas are under a flash flood warning until 9:45. They've gotten quite a bit of rain, no doubt, in that part of southeast Kentucky, and it continues to be an issue, no doubt, there. Let me, in fact, do a little quick check on the app. For those who have family in Kentucky, it looks like they've had a flash flood warning. They're saying 2 to 4 inches of rain has fallen in this area. Now, if you want to see this in context, watch this. We're going to look at the accumulated amounts over the last 6 hours. Ba-boom. Wow. That's a lot of rain, right? That's quite a bit of rain. And if you do some little check here, 3.8, 3.4, 3, some areas 3.6. So yeah, 3 to 4 inches of rain in these areas in Wayne County and just west of Wayne County has had a lot of water in a short period of time. So it's like a month's worth in less than 6 hours. That would be worthy of a flash flood warning. Good thing they have one. They, in fact, have a flash flood warning. So if you have family there, if you're watching us from Kentucky, glad to have you on board and watching. We're going to go back to the radar here in Tennessee. That's our main focal point here, just to really reiterate the threat of thunder, obviously there. All this is coming in. This is a 45-minute loop. Are you ready for this? Look how fast it's moving. And as we saw from one storm, it's moving east at 55 miles per hour. The one that's in Oneida is moving east at 50. So you've got, it's like moving at the speed of a motor vehicle on the highway. It's moving pretty fast. So once we take off the lightning, it kind of declutters the map, but you know it's there. Hopefully you probably hear it. The thunder is probably pretty apparent at this time. Looking at some stars. Oh, my goodness. Diane Ladyhawk sending me some wow stars. Thank you, Diane. You're very, very kind. Always appreciate your help and all the support. Elizabeth says, will this weekend by the time it gets to Greenville? I don't think it's Greenville's night. It'll be tomorrow night. I think tomorrow afternoon, we've got the potential of this just expanding. This is just now making it to the edge of the doorway as the sun is beginning to set. Once the sun sets, 8:40, what time is it now? It's only 7:36. We've got another hour, 4 minutes before the heat source goes away. You remove the heat source, it's like watching the ceiling fan turn off from the switch. Because when you turn off a ceiling fan, what happens? It just slows down. It doesn't stop right away, right? And these storms, in part, have been fueled by the heating of the day. So you get the sun heats the ground heats the air rises quickly, more buoyant. But once the sun goes down, I don't think it's going to make it to Greenville tonight. But I do think we'll have to watch Greenville tomorrow. So, Elizabeth, thank you for the comment. Diane says, wow, and Daniel says he's sitting on the porch starting to hear some deep thunder. Glad to have you guys here. Again, I just wanted to get you through the 7:45 time frame. Michael Hawk on YouTube says a weekend of thunder boomers. You got that right. I mean, this is a typical summer pattern. How many times have I answered the question, or in my career, I've always asked, like, is it going to be a washout? And I go, define washout. Because if you just got 3 to 4 inches of rain in Wayne County, Kentucky, which they did, 3 to 4 inches of rain near Monticello in the last 6 hours or less, you say it was a washout. But it hadn't been doing that all day. It happened over the last few hours. And the last I checked, there's 24 hours in a day. So it's really in the eye of the beholder. You've got to know that this is a summer pattern, even though we haven't quite reached the unofficial start of summer. That's this weekend. So it could rain for 3 hours, then stop, then come back later, 2 hours later. So just be flexible. That's my best suggestion. If you've got plans to be on the porch, the patio, you're grilling out some food this weekend for Memorial Day. I'm going to show you the 7th day coming up. But yeah, you just need to pack your patience, as they say. Amber Stewart says, when will it be in Hancock County? I would imagine, so we'll do a track here. I got goats, she says, to round up. LOL. Well, we got goats. That's now, we're on goat patrol. And I thank you, Amber, because now you make this more relevant, more compelling, and more interesting. So let's talk about goat patrol for Hancock County. And the way I'm going to do that is actually more than just the tracking, which we've already done because we did this. This is a little track here. If you're just joining us, this was 50 miles an hour, right? And there's 50. So the towns that will be affected here are on the screen. It'll be around Pioneer at 7:44. It'll be around Lone Mountain at 7:44. So that's about 6 minutes from now. It'll be on the doorstep of Pilot Mountain. The rate it's going, those are the towns that will be affected. Now over here, so we take this off, this was moving at 55, the one that was near Sparta. So we're going to move that into the crossfire. Here's 55 miles an hour. It's moving along. Even a feather moving at 55 would hurt if it hit you in the face. You got raindrops coming in horizontally. This will be around, say, Ravenscroft at 6:41 Central. Bethesda, Tennessee at 6:42 Central. And Glade Creek at 6:43. No, there's nothing wrong with my clock. This part of our viewing area is in Central Time Zone. And yes, my computer is that smart. It's that smart. It knows the GPS and who's in the Central Time Zone, who's in the Eastern. So if these times look like goofy, because your clock says 7:39 at the top, and this says 6:42 or 43, it's because it's taking into account the time zone change. Now, that's just kind of cool. Now, I want to go over one other aspect. Let's go over to the 2 hour, because I want to get on Goat Patrol. Ready? Let's take a look at where things could be. Here we go. Ready? We're going to turn off the warning area, and we're going to move this into the future. Notice the banner changed. The banner says Future Radar 2 hours. And this is a feature that you can find on the free, did you say free? Yeah, the free Captain Accurate Weather app. You get all this information so that you can plan accordingly this weekend for your Memorial Day plans. I know graduation was going on in places like Hardin Valley and other places around Knox County Day. So if you had graduation issues, you didn't have to dodge raindrops here, but they might have had issues in the plateau. But this would take it in the direction of Hancock County. Let's stop the clock here. That's 2 hours. So we've come all the way, let's see here, all the way to this part. This is 9:40. So if you've got Hancock Goat Patrol here in Sneedville, you still probably got another hour. If it's holding together, it's going to be after 10 p.m. That's my estimation, based on what I'm seeing. Here's Sneedville. Here's Hancock County. Here's where Amber's goats are. So we want to make sure that they get in and take care of, and the storms will be in Middlesboro by 9:40. Does that help? Amber, you couldn't have gotten a more personalized forecast, publicly or otherwise, anywhere online. So I'm glad to have you here. Mike says he's watching from Chicago and hoping everyone stays safe. Thank you, Mike. Steven Snyder, he's watching from, I believe, Texas. Hopefully the power stays on with the storms the next few days. I got to tell you what, was it, I guess, a week ago, it was last Thursday night, almost a week ago, that Houston got hit with those 100-mile-an-hour winds, skyscrapers, with glass breaking. It was just amazing. And it was like a hurricane, right? We're moving through some of those areas with the winds funneling there. But and over a half a dozen people, fatalities from that storm. But Zach Reagan wants to know about Maynardville. Let's talk about Union County. Let's change gears. We got the goats taken care of in terms of Sneedville and Hancock County. Probably going to be after 10 o'clock, Amber. So this is Future Radar. And then if we go over here to Maynardville, this is 9:40. So I would say in this case, Zach, here's Maynardville. This is the clock here at 9:40 at the top. I would say probably be on the guard for these storms to be on your doorstep between 9:45 and 10. It doesn't mean it's going to be as strong as it has been in Fentress County or Scott County, but the potential for rain, heavy rain or thunder, will be on your doorstep. And you'll know if you have a dog or cat. My dog likes to hide under the desk, shivers in the laundry room, all sorts of things when storms approach. But again, this is just moving the clock out 2 hours. It hasn't made it into Clinton and Oak Ridge, but again, by 9:40, that means that's an hour after the sun sets. Because I said the sun sets tonight, coincidentally at 8:40. If this is 9:40, that means these storms will have an hour like the ceiling fan to slow down. And they will. They'll weaken. I think they may not have severity, but they'll still maybe pack 30-mile-an-hour gusts. Maybe they produce 40 or 45-mile-an-hour gusts. It's all potentially there on the table. We'll be watching that closely. Let's go back to the live radar because it's not in Harrogate. It's not in Harrogate right now. People are like, it's not Harrogate. There's something wrong with your radar. No, this is future radar, and this is the most recent radar. So we go back to Harrogate, and you go, no, that's more like it. There's nothing over here. But there will be within the next hour and a half to 2 hours. Zach says, thank you. You're more than welcome, my friend. Diane says, the weather is so every day. It's up and down. Absolutely. And good I have time, says Amber Stewart, saying thank you. You're more than welcome. I enjoy doing this. It's a passion of mine, but I think many of you have known me have watched me over these months, weeks, years. It's just one of the things that's just ingrained in me to kind of instinctively cut in if I need to for storms. Again, we have severe thunderstorm warnings for about a half a dozen counties. It's not Knox County. And to which some people say, well, if it's not Knox County, it's not happening. And we know that's not true. A lot of people live in Crossville. A lot of people live in Wartburg. I've been to Oneida, I've been to La Follette. I've done spotlights in all these towns. They're beautiful towns, and they're being hammered with some storminess. I want you to be prepared. Now, the worst of it has moved away from Cookeville. I wouldn't say Cookeville is clear from the rain, but they certainly had their fair share. As Clay Slavin mentioned, they had a shelf cloud. And that's usually a good indication of some nasty winds that would have moved in through the area. Speaking of winds, and there's the loop here. This is going back the last 2 hours. This is where it's been the last 2 hours. We just looked at the future 2 hours. So future 2 hours will take it to Harrogate. The current 2 hours is taking it over Oneida. And it's really moved into the plateau here in the last hour and so minutes. But that's the loop as it stands right now. We go back to the winds. We haven't looked at that in a few moments. And also possibly maybe some power outages. But let's take a look at the velocity. I think you're going to see maybe some strong winds. I see some bright cup 53. Yeah, there's some strong winds over here. 48. Back here, the stronger winds. It might even be coming in from Sparta. So be on your guard if you're in Crossville. Some of these winds, again, not always translating to the surface, but the potential for strong winds of 55, 60, 65 are certainly on the table. And may not be that strong. Maybe gusting closer to 30 in the Knoxville area, but we don't have rain, at least not yet. Some of this, again, may weaken dramatically in the next few minutes. So if you're on the call, love to know what you're seeing because that way it helps those who might be watching and they can also make the necessary adjustments in their outdoor plans. As we go back to the threats here, let me see if we got some hail tracking here. Let's see what's happening. Yeah, this is where the hail's been. You can see a little bit of that coming through. Some of the bright pink would suggest about an inch, half inch to an inch. If I'm not mistaken, let's see right there. Yep, oh, inch and a half would be about the size of a ping pong ball. But again, that could be just what the data suggests. I always like to trust the weather spotter on the ground. While it might look like ping pong ball size aloft, by the time it reaches the ground, it might be closer to a quarter. And that's why I said it's also part of the equation. May not be hailing everywhere, but that is also on the table. And you got a little bit more time, as we talked about, heading toward Harrogate here before 9:40. Let's go back to you and go back to the radar and get you backed up to speed here at 7:45. The reason it's a good time to reassess is because some of these warnings were set to expire at 7:45. And I can tell already that the boxes have been expanded because it wasn't in Western Claiborne County or Union County, but it is now. They decided to add this area. We fill this in right in here. I don't know how many goats are in western sections of Claiborne County, but it's very rural and very nice and beautiful up there. That's a beautiful drive. The drive from La Follette to Harrogate is, in fact, a very beautiful drive in Claiborne County. But that's now western Claiborne County until 8:30. So the newest severe thunderstorm warning will take us for another 44 minutes. As I'm looking at the Captain Accurate Weather app, looking at some of the newer data that's coming in, and come back on camera so we can answer some questions that you might have. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. I see a note here. The severe thunderstorm warning includes, the new one, came down at 7:44. So that was just 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago, 7:44 includes central Morgan, northwestern Claiborne County, northern Anderson County, Claiborne County, Campbell County, all of Campbell County, eastern Scott County, and northwestern Union. So this little polygon, you can call it a square. It's not really a square. It is a polygon, and that's what's now under the warned area from the Weather Service. And this goes till 8:30. They said a severe thunderstorm was near Zion Hill to about 8 miles east of Huntsville to 8 miles north of Wartburg, and this moving at 40. Now that's interesting because the last time they issued this warning, it was moving at 50. So what's happening? It's weakening, it's slowing down, it's probably going to become, I would say, maybe more benign here in a few moments. Zach Reagan says, do you think it'll extend further? It's possible, but again, we are, it's a race against time. We have a sunset at 8:40. Doesn't mean that storms just magically disappear at 8:40, but when we lose the heat source, you start taking away some of the energy from these storms, and that may actually begin to weaken exponentially or much faster within the hour or hour and a half after. But this is one of those things we'll continue to watch. I just want to take a look here at the, again, let's take a look at the track because we didn't do a track for this one right here. This is moving at 40, so we can take this little track in here, do our own track, and just extrapolate 40 miles an hour and put it at this speed. This is where it's moving. And so these are the towns on the screen that are going to be impacted first. That would be Norma. If you've been to Norma, it's 7:50. That would be about 2 minutes. It's on your doorstep. If you're in Buckeye, 7:51. If you're in Dean, 7:52. If you're in Elk Valley, prepare for some severe thunderstorms, potentially moving into your neck of the woods at 7:52. I got Oak Hill here at 7:54 and Titus at 7:54, while Royal Blue at 7:56. So these are approximate times. Again, this is as live can be, but again, there's always going to be a little bit of a delay, so it's good to have these numbers, these minutes in the future, so that you can be prepared, get away from windows. It's not one of those situations where you need to be in a safe space. This is not, I repeat, not a tornado warning. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. So the capability of this producing 60-mile-an-hour gusts is on the table, and the impact, based on the Weather Service's wording, I would agree, expect damage to roofs, damage to siding, and damage to trees if, in fact, you have a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. So this would affect Clinton. This could impact La Follette, Jacksboro. It could impact Jellicoe, Caravel, Rocky Top, Norris, Norris Dam State Park, Elk Valley, and Smoky Junction. And if you have family that are on the road, this includes Interstate 75 in Tennessee between mile markers 122 and 161. So again, it is going to be crossing over the interstate, and of course that can be very surprise for drivers, right? You're driving north from the Clinton area, you get on I-75 and you're heading up to Jellicoe and you have like, I didn't know it was going to be this bad. If you haven't been notified, if you don't have the free Captain Accurate Weather app or no weather radio, how else would you know? Maybe you're following the National Weather Service on X, formerly Twitter. But if you follow the National Weather Service on X, formerly Twitter, you can get the same type of information. So just wanted to throw that out there. I want to look back at Crossville too. We haven't talked about them in a moment. We want to go back here. Let's turn this off. So we got this handled. So La Follette, be prepared. It's headed in your direction. Let's see if we have any other new towns. Yeah, this one's headed, what seems like affecting some other towns. Pilot Mountain, 758, based on different speeds and different trajectories, different vectors here. This one wants to head in toward the direction of Kentucky. Jellicoe Creek, 803. Red Ash, around 808. Red Bird, 809, for another storm that might be on the strong side based on the Barron analysis of these storms. So we're looking at quite a few thunderstorms, but as I say, the thing that's working in our favor is that we're getting closer to sunset. The sun is not at the same angle that it was when I started here on this live stream. It's getting lower and lower in the sky, and that also could have a role in the storms. If we go back the last 2 hours, let's look at where things were. Look how much purple was there, which usually is strong, intense rain with some potential hail. And now the purple's been removed and replaced with some reds. The reds have been replaced with more yellow. So yeah, I think it's definitely weakening, but that's not for me to just absolutely blanketly say that from the reflectivity. I'd like to go back to the velocity. Let's take a look at that real quick. Turn this back off and just do a little quick check here. There's some strong winds here. Look at that, 64. potentially 46. If that reaches to the surface, you're going to have some issues. Knoxville's got winds around 30, maybe not quite as strong there, but there's 47. Looks like we got a 40 over here. So some of these bright spots would suggest 60, 65. So there's still some very strong wind and some energy that's moving east. So you need to be on guard if you're in maybe Spring Cities, but certainly Crossville, because Crossville is in fact under the warned area, where Spring City technically is not. Spring City, it's mainly to your north at this particular time. If you got a comment, let me know. I'm looking at Daniel, says the wind's picking up. I don't know, Daniel, you could have the best time-lapse video of anybody in your region. So that's something to think about. Zach Reagan was asking, do you think it'll extend further? It could. Something we're listening to and watching. And Daniel says it's starting to thunder a lot louder now. Those are things we're watching for sure. We got lightning, he says. Now, normally I would do a video around 8:30. So I figured this was a lot more effective. I mean, I'd have to update it again, but just know, as I'm going to show you the 7-day here in a moment, just know that the weather's not going to be any better tomorrow. It's probably going to get worse because there will be more counties unaffected or be affected by what could be strong to severe storms on Thursday. Michael Hawk says probably just rain and a little thunder from Morristown then probably. I would say probably, if that. You might be surprised that once the sun goes down how quickly a lot of this will start to dissipate. It may not disappear altogether, but certainly the intensity by the time it gets there will not necessarily be as bad as it was when it hit Monticello. Monticello had a severe thunderstorm warning in Wayne County maybe a couple hours ago now, but they were followed up with the flash flood warning. Let me go back as we've really established now a severe thunderstorm warning for Anderson, parts of Union, Campbell, and western Claiborne till 8:30. This now runs till 8:30. The worst of it appears to be now, just by mind's eye there, it looks like it's really north of Caryville. So the areas that are around, say, Buckeye, some of the darker reds here that I'm watching, this may be where we've got a lot of the nasty winds too. So keep in mind it's heading toward, I guess, Broyles and Jellicoe. Certainly going to be affected. Slick Rock also getting some rain as it's coming up from the west. And then back toward Crossville, you've got just a little bit of time. If anyone's in Crossville and you're watching, let me know because I'd love to know what you're seeing. But let me get the latest update because oftentimes the National Weather Service here in Nashville will update just like our friends in Morristown will. If there's an update to be made, they have put out one that, yes, at 6:44 Central. So that would be 7:44, 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago, they said this thing was moving at 55 miles per hour, and it was located near Sparta. So obviously, it's now east of Sparta. I think we can all agree. And if we do a track here, if this thing's moving right in here at 55 miles per hour, that's pretty fast. So it's one of the faster of the storms that we're seeing. That would move it in the direction of Oak Ridge. It would eventually affect places like Wartburg, Dearmont, and Harriman if it holds together. And that's a big if. But we've got Bowman now. You got Parker Ford at 6:56. Lantana at 6:57. Crossville Estates, 6:57 Central Time. That's in about 3 more minutes. So hunker down, Crossville. You got a strong, severe storm coming into your neck of the woods, and I just want you to be prepared that it might be disruptive. So best to get away from windows, gather any patio furniture. If today was your trash pickup day, hopefully those cans are not still out on the street, but somewhere tucked away and secure in case the wind gets a little more active, which no doubt it will. Checking YouTube, I see Michael Hawk's comments. I'm also looking back at Libby on Facebook. She's over here. I got a note here. She says, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. My pleasure, Libby. Happy to have you here. We got a Go Vols from Danny Feedback. Have a great night. Safe, David. Stay safe. You too, my friend. Kimberly Kaysen. Howdy, Captain. It's luminous in Bearden. Isn't that nice? I like that, right? Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Yeah, I guess this would be kind of, you see these clouds coming in, the sun's trying to lower. It'd be kind of cool. But like I said, Daniel, who's been on here, Daniel Parton might be actually time-lapsing. If he took my suggestion, he would have the best video. Just set it to like a 1-minute time-lapse and watch the storms roll in, because that's what we're doing. They're rolling into Crossville now. They're rolling into and around, say, La Follette and moving further north and moving to the west. It's going to be moving into La Follette here in just mere moments, that's for sure. Let me check power outages. I know that may seem a bit premature because you're like, I haven't had any wind yet. But there has been wind in other parts of our viewing area and certainly the state. So let's see about the county average. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, we got power outages. Quite a few, actually. And the history of this wind has been Monticello, Wayne County's had power outages. Fentress County now has 2,500. Now think about it. Fentress County is not the most populated county in the state. So to have 2,500 in reference to the number of populated, and I don't know offhand how many Fentress County has, but that's a lot. 2,500 by any measure is a lot of hour outages. 2,000 to the west, 100 here. Wayne County has 1,000. 300 here, and Nashville has 600. So think about this. Jamestown has more power outages than Davidson, Nashville. Davidson County, Lebanon about 100, Portland about 400, and so it goes. So really, the power outages may be small potatoes, part of the story, but it's really gotten a lot worse for Jamestown and Morgan County, that's for sure. Going to go back to the radar. I want to check one other thing here as we go back and take the reflectivity off. I want to do the accumulation again and see if we have any hot spots. You can see by far and away, it's no wonder that Monticello is under, much of Wayne County is under a flash flood warning because of the month's worth of rain they've had in some cases in about 6 hours, right? There's 3.8, there's 3.3. That's a lot of rain in a short period of time. So it's, again, very important to urge, turn around, don't drown. If you're in these areas and you see rising water, please don't drive through flooded streets. It's not worth it, even if you think you're invincible because you happen to drive a truck or an SUV. It's still going to cause you problems if there's a sinkhole. And if you happen, and believe me, it happens more often than you know. People get stuck in a sinkhole. I didn't know that was there. Well, that's the point. That's why we ask you, turn around, don't drown. Why put a first responder in jeopardy, their lives in jeopardy to save you, when you could have easily turned the car around? Talk about that all the time. I can't emphasize that enough. It's one of the bigger hazards, weather hazards, whether it be a slow-moving thunderstorm or it maybe be a hurricane. Flooding is a big issue. All it takes is 6 inches of rushing water to sweep you off your feet. I often joke about that your fiance may have swept you off your feet by all the romancing and the candy and the teddy bear and the balloons and the dates, but I'm talking about the rushing water will sweep you off your feet. That's all it takes is 6 inches of that. 12 inches can take your car or SUV away, and a large vehicle can be swept away with just 18 inches. So it's very important to do this move that the red car is now doing. See how it's turning around? That takes courage. And if the kids are watching, remind mom and dad, hey, I heard we should turn around. Don't drive through that road. If it's flooded, and I'm talking to folks in Wayne County, I know this is not pertinent to Knoxville today, but it could be tomorrow or the next day or later this summer, maybe during hurricane season. At some point in your life, you're going to reach that barrier or no barrier and say, I can make it. It's just a little bit of water. I can't see the road. There's the hydroplaning issue, but I'll just go through it. It's fine. It's not fine. It's really in your best interest for you, your family, your safety of you and your family. Just turn around. It makes a lot more sense. And that's who's gotten hammered. Places north of Albany, Kentucky, Monticello, they've had a lot of water for sure. Going back to you on the radar, I figure it's probably on the doorstep of Crossville now, and it looks like it's kind of moving in along 127. Around Elmore, we have quite a bit of lightning. We've got the severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15. 7:15, the warning central time for Crossville, Foxfire, Lake Tansy. Pleasant Hill may not look all that pleasant. This may not be your Chamber of Commerce moment in Pleasant Hill. It might be unpleasant at the moment, but I assure you it will get better here in the next 30 minutes as you are under a severe thunderstorm warning for another 15 more minutes. Things will improve there, no doubt, because again, I'm looking at the central time, and of course, my clock at the top of the banner. The second line there is in Eastern time. Got some notes from about Daniel who says, beautiful wall cloud coming over. Ooh. And Don Rumsey says, thank you, David, for your dedication to keep us all safe. My pleasure. Extremely windy here in Campbell County. And I'm thinking about you too. Dawn is one of my premium members. She's been this big support of me for many years. I can brag on Dawn Rumsey because she's one of the first people to welcome people into the David Aldrich Weather Group, whether it be the subscriber group or just the general group at large. But she's has a very kind spirit. I want to thank Dawn for all the help she's been able to support me in these matters. Because I want you, and as she does, everybody to be safe tonight. Just know that these storms too shall pass. I do know that this is not going to be a big issue here, right? I got Knoxville, Kodak, Severe. These populated areas are going, what storms? I didn't see any storms. I saw some dark clouds, but that's about it. And if you look at the next 2 hours, which we're going to do next, where on earth could these showers be headed? They're headed in the direction of Harrogate. And you can see, look at that fall apart. Just between Oneida and Wartburg. Went boop, it's starting to fall apart. And it's very clear, just in the last 2 hours, where this storm has been. I'm going to take off my little telestrated circle, and we're going to stop the time lapse here. Let's go back, if we can, let's go back to the 2-hour future radar. If you're just joining me, what's most important is what about my town? So let's talk about your town. If you're not getting rain yet, and this represents the 8:01 time frame, let's move this forward, shall we? Let's go forward in time. That's 2 hours in the future. So we've got some heavy rain that's going to be moving just north of Clinton. Looks like it goes right through Wartburg. So Wartburg, you're going to get some heavy rain. And it's going to move into La Follette, most likely in stages before 9 o'clock, 9:30. But by 9, 10 o'clock, and again, the timing might be off a few minutes, but it gives you a good sense based on the algorithm of the radar echoes of where and how it might divide, how it might spread, how it might get stronger or weaker. But clearly, this is a representation of 10:02 this evening, and that's 2 hours from now. So it would be in the heart of Claiborne County, La Follette, and where dawn is in Campbell County. You still got a lot still to come in terms of rainfall. Then we have another batch coming back towards Spring City. So again, this is a feature that you can access with your fingertips on the new Captain Accurate Weather App update. We have that as well. There's like a dark mode. You might like the white backdrop. You've got options with the settings. But the future radar is great because it'll take you 120 minutes into the short-term future. There's also a 24-hour future radar, which is very nice if you've got a picnic like on a Saturday. You want to do the 24-hour radar at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So what's the storm just going to look like? You've got that feature on there as well. So you've got all the tools that one might need or desire, but this week, again, I'm just trying to show you where this storm is getting and heading, and you'll notice in 2 hours from now, places like Kodak, Farragut, nothing. It's like, oh, it looks like 2 hours. It's going to probably move north of Clinton and miss Knoxville altogether, the way things are trending. But it is going to weaken. I do think that that's for sure. Let's go back to the current, because it's not raining in Tazewell. You got a picture there, but there it is. See, Tazewell is, it's like anyone who's just now watching going, your radar is something wrong with it. No, it's just projecting. But there's Tazewell, completely dry at the moment. So is Maynardville, but that could change in the next hour to hour and a half to 2 hours. Don Bobinski says, got lightning in Lansing. I bet you do. John says, Roane County, question mark. Let's find out about Roane County. We just did the 2-hour radar. We just took a look at the 2-hour radar, so we were giving an idea, but let's focus with the attention paid to Roane County. I'm going to go down here toward Harriman and Kingston. This is one of the storms that might very well work its way, if this is moving, as I suspect it is. This thing's moving at 55. So if this is in this direction, it's going to be in the Harriman-Kingston area and head toward Oak Ridge here, probably within the next hour. Again, this is moving it out 55 miles per hour to 60 minutes in an hour. Yeah, so you're probably going to be in the Mountain View Estates area at 7:06. That's, of course, Central Time. But it could be around Fairfield Glade at 7:06. It's on the doorstep of Fairfield Glade, but it's already rolling through Crossville right now. Got Crossville right here, and they're getting some strong returns in color and reflectivity. What about the winds? Let's go back to the winds. Can't hit the winds hard enough or often enough, but let's do that. And you can take off the warning area, and you can see that some of the stronger winds appear at this point to be north of, let's see here, pull this back. Yep, we got a 66 there. I think that's a little easier to see if I take this back off and see right in here. What do we got? 64 miles an hour, just in southern Fentress County potentially. There's 44. Crossville maybe closer to 25. There's some stronger winds back to the west near Spencer, near Sparta. And so it's filling in. That's why I say these are gusts potentially. Wartburg, I imagine you're getting winds that are picking up now over 20 miles an hour, maybe 25. It's picking up. But these winds, again, could do some damage to trees. They could affect the power, the whole 9 yards. So be mindful of that. And you could really see from the coloring, it's the bright white ones, the ones that are moving toward the radar. Of course, the radar site we know is around Morristown, and so it's going toward the radar. So we get the bright green, and these areas are representative of the strong winds associated here. So you got 59, here you got 60 in southern Fentress County, northern Cumberland County, to be sure. So that's where the wind damage might be most noticeable right now. We go back to the actual warned areas, and you can see we now have a new one, a brand new warning. It's going to run till 8:45. Now that one was not there, and that includes Harriman. We just looked at Harriman and Kingston. This storm may be working, so it could be brushing through Oakdale, Wartburg, and Harriman here the next few minutes. I hope that helps, John. John Standridge was asking about Roane County. yes, you're now under officially, at least Harriman is under a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:45. Does that help? I hope it does as I come back on camera. If you got some comments or concerns and you're in this area, again, I know it's not in the most populated area because, of course, here's Lenore City, here's Knoxville, nothing going on at this time. Nothing going on in Knoxville, but all the activity is here. We're now less than, well, 8:40, so we're 34 minutes away from sunset. Sun's getting down lower in the sky. We're turning we hit the switch, the light switch for the ceiling fan, and the ceiling fan is going to slow down, and so will the storms. Sometimes that takes an hour or 2 hours after sunset, so that takes you about 10:40, and then it's like, hey, it's all gone. That's like a strange thing. It's a coincidence. No, it's not. There's a connection. There's a heat source that's driving a lot of this, and it's the sun. Sun severe thunderstorm warning till Roan. Mentioned this one for Cumberland County. Go back on camera full so you can see it. That's until 7:15 Central. That'll be expiring here in just a few minutes because, again, I'm taking note of the difference in Central and Eastern. It's 8:07 right now. This will be expiring at 8:15 Eastern or 7:15 Central. We got the new one that was newly issued for Oakdale Harriman till 8:45. We got another one here until 8:45. And now the new one, it looks like we have up here in La Follette. It looks like we've got some of these spots here coming back into Camel here. This would include Speedwell now. So we also mentioned some areas in Claiborne County. That runs until 8:30. So a lot of these boxes may very well start to fall off in the next 22 minutes at best. And again, like I said, I usually would do a video around 8:30. I figured this was a better use of my time so that you would know. And I didn't get to the point, but I'm going to do that now because I don't want to delay that. Some of you are like, I haven't seen your 7-day. Let me give you that nuts and bolts because we do have severe weather concerns tomorrow. We have a lot of fuel with these storms. Take a look. Look at the difference here in temperature. Right? We're around 80. It is 80 in Oak Ridge at 8 o'clock. These are your 8 o'clock temperatures. 64 in Crossville? What? How could it be that different? Because they're dealing with rain, right? They've got some rain. So you got rain-cooled air. I'm going to put this in play. Got some rain-cooled air right in here. So with that said, you've got the telestrator here. So you've got all these areas here are in the 60s. So very cool out here, and it's obviously going to be very warm enough to support more rain as it heads eastward. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Is it sticky? I'd say so. If you got a 79 air temperature, the dew point right now is 63. So anytime it's in the 60s, you've got the makings of good thunderstorms, a very sticky, humid air mass, and of course the thunderstorms can use that as energy. But the wind speeds, apart from the storms, probably benign. They're less than 10 miles an hour in most cases, but unless you're inside one of those storms, there's a 15-mile-an-hour wind speed at the Crossville Airport at the time of observation, but I'm sure north of Crossville, as we examined, there could be much stronger winds indeed. And if you thought it was warm here, well, they've rain-cooled themselves in Nashville too, while it's 83 in Tupelo and 83 in Atlanta. I do want to mention, as I talked to you about the forecast, this is what's a big concern for us going into the near future, because I want to at least paint the picture. Scattered severe storms are in yellow. Numerous severe storms are in orange. This is a legend that hasn't changed. I show this a lot because sometimes people will ask, what does that color mean? Well, the yellow means scattered, and the orange means numerous. And today and tonight, Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth was considered to be a hot spot for severe weather, and they've had quite a few activity, still some activity down there. They did encompass most of the Ohio Valley for today and tonight. And you'll notice the line gets kind of drawn and left Knoxville right on the doorstep. It hasn't really excluded Knox County for a severe thunderstorm, but it includes Kingston, it includes Harriman, and we just saw a moment ago, they just added Harriman and Oakdale into Roane County, at least Roane County now until 8:45. But if you think this is only going to disappear tomorrow, take a look, because there's obviously an orange spot there in the heartland in Nebraska and maybe northern Kansas tomorrow. But everybody in East Tennessee is under the green area, and it runs all the way up the I-95 corridor from D.C., Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. But in East Tennessee tomorrow, everybody's fair game for an isolated storm. Some of them could be strong storms, and that could be a 40, that could be a 50-mile-an-hour gust. But what if it's like 60? Well, then they would issue a severe thunderstorm warning. And let me put this into context one step further that maybe you didn't see. If you didn't look at my blog, then you missed out on some very important information, because the blog had some very interesting information about the winds. Like tomorrow, will we get tornadoes? The answer from the Storm Prediction Center is no. There's no chance for a tornado tomorrow. Does that give you comfort? I hope it does. But there's still a 5% chance that we get 60-mile-an-hour winds within 25 miles of a point. Now, this is for Thursday. But what about hail? Same thing. 5% chance for hail for tomorrow within 25 miles of a point. So just cover your eyes, take your finger, and just point to the map and say, pin the tail on the donkey. Pick any town, and there could be a 5% chance of hail within 25 miles of a point. So that's where the hail and wind damage will be, but the good news is we are not, at least at this point, not under the concern of tornadoes on Thursday. But this all changes for the holiday weekend. And you say, what are you talking about? Look at Saturday. This is what's considered the Storm Prediction Center's long range. They go past day 4. They do a day 4 through 8. Many people don't really access that as readily. They use different colors. They only use the yellow and the light brown, which represents 15 or 30%, but they only use it when they think there's strong evidence that down the road there could be some severe weather. And clearly, St. Louis to Dallas, there could be issues on Saturday. And for us, oh my, our Sunday night could be very stormy, and maybe we do have tornadoes. That's a possibility on Sunday night. So we have a 15% chance in yellow. We have a 30% chance of severe storm. And think about this. Today's Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 4 days from now, right? That's 4 days. And they're this convinced based on the data. It must be like a bullhorn. It's like the data is screaming at you. Hey, Knoxville, be on the guard. Sunday, we can have severe storms. Maybe we have damaging wind. Maybe we have hail. Maybe we get everything. The whole kit and caboodle. And you say, oh, that's for the birds. This is my Memorial Day weekend. You're ruining it. I'm not trying to ruin anything. I think education and information is power. The more you know what could happen, the better off everyone will be. So we are expecting severe storms on Sunday at this point. High temperatures tomorrow will be around 79. Here's my expectation. I'm going to show you the 7-day, and then I get right back to the radar because I don't want you to miss anything. But the high temperature tomorrow should be about 77 Morristown, 79 Maryville, Alcoa, Kingston, Harriman, 79, about 78 in Crossville, with an 80% chance of showers and storms tomorrow. 80% chance on Friday. Friday does not look severe for us. Friday just looks like run-of-the-mill storms, but we'll get plenty of rain. So let me show you the 7-day, the Captain Accurate Weather Authority forecast. We've got showers and storms tomorrow. Friday we do it again, but maybe with less intensity. And I think we get a serious pullback on Saturday. Maybe a few downpours in the pre-dawn hours of Saturday, like 5 a.m., 4 a.m., but then it's gone, and maybe a spotty shower on Saturday. So if you have Saturday plans, make that as your best day of the 3. Of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I think Saturday will be the best day because you'll get up to about 86 and very limited rain once the sun is up. But Sunday, all hands on deck for some strong severe storms, 80% chance there. And the Memorial Day, there could be some lingering showers, so I had to go back to 60 for the rest of the day. All right, does that help? I hope it does. I hope it puts it into context. We're going back to the radar. Enough about the long range. Let's focus on the current situation. And if you're just joining me, we've got some issues not in Knoxville, not in Maryville, not in Morristown, but really showing signs of weakening as it has now left officially the Crossville area. The intensity, the red areas have now left Crossville. As we look here, this is a severe thunderstorm warning that runs until 7:15. That means one more minute. 7:15 Central, 8:15 Eastern. Yeah, one more minute, and this Crossville box polygon should disappear. If that's the case, I think we're probably on track of seeing this all fade away. We've got one that's going to go to 8:45 in the Harriman area, Wartburg as well, Sunbright. Wartburg is Sunbright till 8:45, and then you look back toward Norris, La Follette, that goes until 8:30. So much of this is beginning to show signs of maybe weakening, maybe less intense. The lightning is still there, and the winds, as we looked at a moment ago, is still a factor. But as far as the accumulated rainfall, I don't see anything getting off the chart, much like these areas. These are really concerned areas. The Wayne County, Kentucky, and it looks like Clinton County, Kentucky, until 8:45 Central for flash flooding, which is always a dangerous thing. You don't want to mince words with that. Now, I do see the Crossville one just expired, the warning that is, because Crossville is still going to be under the severe thunderstorm watch, which means conditions are favorable. It's not a warning, but the watches is, we're going to watch. Just watch to see what something happens. But right now, Crossville, you've got a little bit of a break. We've got 15 half hour left for Wartburg, and I want to do a track on that. The one that's in La Follette should be ending around 8:30. So those are some things we're looking at there. I'm on YouTube, as I've been looking at Michael Hawk. If you're on Facebook, let me know. I'm going to check in here and see if there's any more comments that might be coming in by Facebook as I am trying to multitask and look at the radar and look at the comments all at the same time. It is, by the way, 8:16 in the evening. We've been watching the storms move into the plateau. We are seeing a sign that this is beginning to, I wouldn't say decay, but it is weakening in many regards as the sun's getting lower in the sky. New comments from Wanda Poe. She says, David, hope storms aren't too bad. The trees are bad. Now, you had some issues. Now, I'm not happy to hear this bad news that you shared, Wanda, but that you were personally affected by trees falling over and landing on things. So I'm very concerned. I want to keep you safe, absolutely, during these wind events. Kenneth and Caroline Humphrey says it's 74 in La Follette. Hard wind at 8:10. I imagine so. And Daniel says, oh, the sound of rain on a tin roof. I bet it's pretty noisy. Makes for also good video, good sound, certainly for sure. And about 8:07, the hard wind was hitting La Follette and Fincastle. So glad to have you all here watching these storms. We saw one box disappear. Now we just have these two. This one will be gone at 8:45. But the next one to disappear is the La Follette. The severe thunderstorm warning that's been in La Follette clearly is going to end at 8:30. There doesn't seem to be much holding what's in Oneida now. It is working its way through Oneida, but you'll notice Oneida is not in the warning. So we have a heavy rainmaker right in here, right? A strong thunderstorm, and it's drifting in the direction of La Follette. Maybe what's here is concerning, and we can look a little bit closer to the wind situation here. Let's see if we take all that off and declutter the map. Yeah, it doesn't look all that impressive, but there are some very strong winds here. 72, right? We got 64 and 72 mile an hour winds, Morgan County, Fentress County, and that's enough to cause some serious damage to trees and power lines, roofs, and siding. So please be extra careful if you're in Morgan County, Fentress County, as it heads eastward. That's the biggest concern with these particular warnings. I'm looking at some other comments from the Weather Service to see if I got a new update from them. It looks like they came in at 7:44. That's not the most recent, but the one that's in the more recent one that hit Harriman and Oakdale that was issued was at 8:05. That was 13 minutes ago, saying that this storm had the potential of 60 mile an hour winds and penny size hail was expected here. Clearly, by far and away, you've got some strong winds that we're going to be watching move to the east as this begins to progress. But that's the radar in a nutshell. By the way, if I haven't mentioned this last 15 minutes or a half hour, I want to say a special thanks to my sponsor, Marco's Pizza. If you are hungry for a snack or haven't had dinner yet tonight, consider Marco's Pizza. They're a big corporate sponsor for No Kid Hungry. And if you are hungry, they would love to have you stop by and pick up a pepperoni magnifico or a new pozole. These pozzoles are great. It's like a calzone, but even better. It's more than just cheese. You can get pepperoni, sausage, all sorts of good things. But of course, if I didn't mention that, I should have, because I couldn't do this without their support, and I couldn't do this without your support. That's the key. But the Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. They've got locations in Hardin Valley, Farragut, Maryville, Fountain City Halls, Oak Ridge, Middlebrook, Pike, and Ebenezer Road. Check them out. Does this not look delicious? I mean, look, the pepperoni is so excellent. Pizza lovers get it. It's delicious. And the pozole, $5.99 each. These things are awesome. Pepperoni and sausage. I had one recently, and they're delicious. So if you are going to marcospizza.com tonight, check them out. Tell them Captain Accurate sent you. They would appreciate your support as well. But the Ultimate Doppler radar, again, highlighting thunder, highlighting lightning, and things will get better, no doubt. We have a new flood advisory, it looks like, for Wayne County. I would think that they've got more than the flood advisory. They got the flash flood warning until 9:45. They've got multiple flood concerns in Wayne County. If you happen to be traveling there, this one that's moving into Morgan County, they said is moving at 50. So if I have this correct, the one that's moving at 50 miles per hour, we didn't do a track here, but let's do that here. That's here. I want to make sure I'm not, oops, I took my cursor right off the board here. Let me turn that off and go back to the current situation. So if we do a 50 track in here and keep it inside this box, that would be in the direction of Maynardville, in the direction of Clinton, and it would take you in the direction of Oak Ridge. So these towns like Pilot Mountain at 822 will be affected soon. Lansing, we had a report from Lansing. You had thunder a while back. Looks like you're getting reinforcements by 8:23, about 3 minutes from now. Nemo, 8:23. Huffman, 8:23. And Pine Orchard, about 8:25. So that's what we see in terms of the storms at this point, all headed in the direction possibly of Oak Ridge, but Wartburg could see more in the way of downpours at 8:27. just in the next few minutes. But the good news is they did just cancel another severe thunderstorm. Isn't that something? Now, that's what I like to see. Don't you like to see these boxes disappear? Because look at the last 45 minutes, right? You had all these warnings, boom, 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 and now we've lost 2 of them. So there's clearly a loss of energy from these storms. So I think this would be a good wrapping up point. Just want to check one more time the power outages. Some of your friends or neighbors, nearby neighbors, could actually have some power issues. Yes, we've added Wartburg, right? We have now parts of Morgan County, 100 people, and maybe growing. Scott County has now 1,000 people without power. Again, not the most populated counties in the state. 1,000 is a lot, and 2,500 is even more in Fentress County. Big concern. 3,000. I mean, it just keeps going up. And these power outages may be affecting Campbell County here in a few minutes. So please charge your phone if you have time until these storms pass. We already saw that the winds could be quite gnarly and also producing quite a bit of wind. Thanks again for Marcos. Thank you for you and your time as I'm looking back at these individual radar locations. Let me turn this off. Accumulated rainfall. Let's do that real quick. Yep, it's picking up. Maybe in Jamestown might have had a ½ inch. 1.2 there. Cookeville perhaps has had close to an inch. Oneida maybe a little more than a ½ inch from the Doppler estimated rain. That's where things seemingly are at this point. But as far as the actual sweeps and the velocity can be a bit concerning when you see winds that potentially are over 60 miles an hour. There's 64, there's 57, and it has been working its way through Morgan, through Scott, and working through Fentress County at this time. Any questions? I'll sign off, but I want to thank you for your evening time. I'll have more updates for my premium members as I have a little programming note that I would put what's the next big thing out after the live stream. So thank you for your patience. It's now 8:23. Be extra safe and know that this is just a dress rehearsal for what could be again tomorrow and maybe again on Sunday. Sunday could be even more elevated. We'll have to wait and see. It's still early, but Sunday is at least heading in that similar direction. Well, my name is David Aldridge. Some people call me Captain Accurate. It's not easy being accurate, so weather doesn't surprise you. We'll see you here next time. Take care.